Hi everyone, welcome back. This week I tried to improve the foliage in my scenes. Here you can see the result. Now things wave as if the wind was affecting them, but also if I run past them, they will shake a little bit. I know that I should leave details like this to the end of the development, but recently I saw a video by Elliot showcasing his plugin for Unreal Engine, and I just had to do something similar. So, in its simplest form, you create a wind effect using a vertex shader. You generate some noise and use it to displace vertices of your grass. But it doesn't translate to pixel art, because moving vertices will distort your pixels. What we can do, however, is use a fragment shader to displace how the texture is mapped to our sprites. This was the easiest step. I added some pixelation and the wind was ready. Figuring out the player's interaction turned out to be much more challenging. I found a great tutorial by Dean Ashford, although it was an Unreal Engine tutorial and he also used the vertex displacement. But the general concept was there. Pass the player's position to the shader and displace foliage in certain radius. I had no idea how many weird effects can be generated with that. Pixelating the effect was also quite intricate. Anyway, when I was done, I realized that the effect wasn't really what I was looking for. The problem for me was that the grass had no memory, and so as soon as the player moved away from it, the grass immediately went back to its original form. So I kept looking. I found another great tutorial by Nitrogen. He used a special texture generated at runtime to store positions in the world which the player has visited. And he was using it to displace grass accordingly. I did something similar, but instead of storing just the player's position, I'm also storing their velocity. I'm using a custom render texture for that. Custom render texture is a texture that can be updated with a shader. I called it velocity buffer. Upon every frame, my shader uses this texture to simulate spring movement using this equation. Here you can see the visualization of that. In the bottom right corner you can also see the original buffer. Red values represent the spring's displacement, while green represents its velocity. The great thing about this is that everything runs on the GPU, and GPUs can process a humongous amount of simple mathematical operations at once. They basically eat this little shader of mine for breakfast. Additionally, the buffer must be rendered once per frame, but then it can be used in many different shaders without any additional cost. So if I ever wanna create like cables hanging from the ceiling that will sway when the player touches them, I can easily do that. I've learned a lot this past week, and I have so many ideas for other shader-based effects. I'm definitely gonna make like a snow shader that will collapse when you step on it, but as I said, I'm gonna try to focus on the important things and leave the minutiae of the game for later. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you and take care.